We
because once people buy the plate.
okay, then I'll call this meeting to order. 5:01. Are there any modifications, additions to the agenda?
The only addition is in front of you is a second piece of correspondence from Mr. Rob.
Okay.
So just wanted to note that for the record.
And I have an addition to the agenda.
Okay.
I'd like to introduce a discussion item, touch on an update on the shuttle contract arrangement we have with Columbia Area Transit and Mountain Meadows.
Okay.
And get some clarification. I spoke with Columbia Area Transit representatives at the conference, and they do their budget the same thing we do. And they would really like to get all that hammered out before their spring meeting.
Oh, okay. Okay, so we'll add that as
Discussion.
4C.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, and then with that, we will move to public comment. Thank you everyone for coming. As a reminder, we allow 5 minutes for public comment, and we really appreciate your input. Please don't think that we're rude by not having a dialogue or engagement, but we do take all of your comments into consideration and we'll discuss them further. So without further ado, first on my list I have Deborah Phillips.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to address you. I'm here to speak about the issue that Rob has brought to your attention. I reside in the Upper Hood River Valley, and as a result, I'm an elector in this district. Until December of 2023, I practiced law in Hood River, beginning in 1983 when I joined the law firm of Parker, Abraham, Bo, Jakes, and Blakely. And I'm sure you'll all recognize the Jerry Jakes name. And in that role, I had an opportunity to actually do some work for the court as a baby lawyer. I took some court meetings, and he asked me to write a few legal opinions. And then over the years, my municipal experience expanded. I worked as Hood River City Attorney for 10 years, White Salmon City Attorney for 10 years, and served as legal counsel to the Hood River Urban Renewal Agency for about 37 years. And I tell you that background so that you understand that I've had some experience in interpreting statutes in the context of the governmental niche. And I recall well Measure 14-3 being placed on the ballot. It is a local ordinance, it's a port ordinance, and it's binding on the port regardless of city zoning. And as you all know well, ORS 777 is one of the state statutes that governs ports. And in ORS 777.080 parentheses 2, there's a provision that says electors of a port district may exercise the powers of initiative and referendum, with a reference to another statute, ORS chapter 250, for that process. So as a result of the initiative process relating to Measure 14-3, it is a port ordinance. It is a law. It is not advisory. It is not optional. Ignore Measure 14-3 at your peril. There was a time to challenge that ordinance, both before it was considered, shortly after, and shortly after it was considered. But it has not, as far as I know, has never been repealed or modified. I reviewed, in preparation for speaking with you tonight, everything that I could find on your website, including your governance policy. And it provides in pertinent part that port commissioners are public officials. You are accountable to the public through state, federal, and local laws. Measure 14-3 is a local law. And it is your duty to enforce and honor that law. Ordinance 14-3 states that Marina Park shall be used for public recreational use. Port Marina Park cannot be used for a boutique hotel. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan.
Oh, and thank you so much for letting me come and speak. I've been out of the country for a while in some sun. And when I got back, I heard about possible plans for a boutique hotel in, in the building that we are tenants of as well. So I have a bit of a vested interest here. But as you all know, I've always been involved in waterfront protection and protecting park area and green space. And so when I heard about the possibility of this hotel, I was just like, wow, because of the ordinance that was passed. I was here when that happened. And also because of the area and how little beautiful connection we have with the water from the interstate. You put a big hotel in front of the water, there's nothing to draw visitors off the interstate into, there is, but that is a draw. People see how wonderful it is and they pull off and they visit Hood River. So that's one thing, but also just, the Marina Green has become a very, very special place to a lot of people in this community. Soccer teams, lacrosse teams, ultimate frisbee, walking dogs, just being there and having this connection, a really nice connection to the marina and to the green space. So I urge you, if you're thinking about developing that in any way, shape, or form, to take it slow and to look at all of the areas that still exist and how they could come together in a unified cohesive plan. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Susan. Next, I have Brian.
Brian Carlstrom. Yeah, a lot of the folks here, worked on that initiative in 1995, and I understand it's hard to believe, but it's almost 30 years ago, and I can understand how a lot of people that are on the board right now perhaps didn't even know about it. But it passed with a overwhelming majority of voters in the Port District, and it was to as previous speakers have mentioned, there would be restricted development in this area north of the freeway. I'm hoping that the reason that this has come to a head here is because you guys didn't know. Is that the case? Ben, you've been here a long time. All his life. You knew. Did you know about that? Do you know about it? Can you have a show of hands of people who just didn't know that this was already an ordinance? None of you knew, I guess. Is that what I understand with no, or you just don't want to?
You can't respond.
Can't respond. Okay, well, I'm hoping that you just didn't know, because I would hope that you care about the constituents who voted in that measure, because it's been in the books. It's like a done deal. So I was quite surprised when I read about it. And I don't really want to go through that whole process again of fighting it, which we did before and we won, and we'll do it again. But I hope you guys just drop this whole idea. There's plenty of places to put hotels out on the waterfront. Okay. Thanks for your time.
Next sign up to speak is Joan. Program.
you for having me too. I want to speak about the toll takers. I think basically that people are going to be unhappy with, this isn't Seattle or San Francisco where they take automatic tolls or whatever you call it, electronic tolls. I think people are going to be visitors. We are in Hood River in this area dependent on tourists, right? So I think tourists are not going to be happy to do this. And I have a question. How much is it going to cost to, I heard somebody say 10,000 cars a week. And you wanted a bid put out for somebody to do something with those 10,000 cars that don't have a breeze by. And how is it collected? And how much is it going to cost for people in addition to the toll for people to go across the bridge? Ben or Kevin, I talked the other day. There's a 2-week grace period, but what if somebody's here for 3 weeks and they get home? I mean, how are they going to be contacted? Anyway, and we talked about signage, and I just want everybody to know I can't read too many words as I'm driving off the freeway. Maybe 3 or 4. If I'm stopped, I can of course read a lot more, but I'm concerned about the signage. How are people going to know if they get off here, how they're going to get billed? And maybe there's another way to cut $100,000 from the budget. Anyway, that's all I have to say. And can you answer any of my questions?
We can have staff get answers for you on the.
Okay. Thank you.
Do you have her contact information, Kevin?
Yeah, we talked. Yeah, give me a call. We can get you whatever information you need.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any extra standards?
I don't, if you look at something.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have, Brian. Did Brian want to add? I thought he was out.
Is he Brian Robb?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna read his letter to.
Oh, the one that's in the packet?
Yeah.
Okay.
That worked for him. Because he's not here. So this isn't the second letter, this is the first letter.
I got a hard copy here for you.
Yeah. Okay, thanks, Kevin.
Susan, did you want to read it just to have it in the meeting or?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the minutes.
Okay.
So
It is in the minutes, just so you know.
okay, well, for people that are
Okay.
sure that didn't get it. Dear Port of Hood River Executive Director Kevin Greenwood and Executive, thank you for seeing that this email is forwarded to each commissioner. I have viewed a presentation by Tom Bacci of Kidler Matthews at the January 21st, 2025 board meeting of the Port of Hood River. I was very concerned about his testimony regarding possible hotel commercial development at Port Marina Park. I admit feeling quite a bit of deja vu and been there, done that. Back in early 1994, the DM Stevenson Company approached the port regarding the setting of a hotel adjacent to the marina. Over the next year and a half, the controversy exploded in the community. I became deeply involved and helped in the formation and operation of a group titled Citizens for Responsible Waterfront Development, or CRWD. CRWD spearheaded a citizen initiative named Measure 14-3. On November 7, 1995, the voters of the Park District or the Port District passed the measure and created a new Port of Hood River Ordinance titled Port Marina Park Ordinance. This measure directed the Port of Hood River to protect Port Marina Park from any additional commercial development that was not already present. The area protected extended from the western edge of the Marina Green east to the Columbia River bank to the north of the port buildings near the bridge entrance. The ordinance specifically states that the undeveloped portion of Port Marina Park shall be used for public recreational uses. It further directs that existing structures and infrastructures on the developed portion of Port Marina Park may only be maintained, renovated in accordance with this ordinance. The removal of the DMV building and the commercial building to the east to create new development is simply not permitted by this ordinance. The siting of a hotel at the edge of the marina flies in the face of the expressed will of the Port of Hood River constituents and must not be permitted to happen and should not even be considered. I've attached a copy of the information brochure produced by CRD concerning the initiative. Included is a map of the area encompassed by the ordinance. Thank you for your consideration. I'm confident that you will act accordingly to protect the wishes of your community. Sincerely, Brian Robb.
Then we have Linda Maddox. Do you want to speak?
Excuse me, 3018. Dana Lane, I've had a long day. Today, I wasn't sure I was going to get here. I just want to support what you have just heard in terms of not developing any kind of hotel or commercial enterprise there. I was a shock to all of us, especially those of us that worked so many years ago to fight off some other bad ideas. And I think it's quite possible. That was 30 years ago when that passed, and we were shocked. Brian Robb would tell us about my going down State Street to find out what had happened on the election, and I just didn't think that it would come out in our favor to save the marina. I really truly didn't. But I also think that all of you are much younger and probably didn't even know about it. It's possible you didn't know, or you didn't even what the effect is that you can't do this. And that article in the paper about the boutique hotel, oh my God. And so somebody said, well, it's just a boutique hotel. And I'm reading it's going to cost 30 million to 50 or 60 million. You're going to get all of $120,000 to $160,000 for a 99-year. No, each year you're going to get that. But I don't even know how it was written. But you're going to get some sort of a land lease you're going to land lease to a hotel. I mean, I was just having heart failure reading the article that was in the Columbia Gorge News. And then we spread some information, very few of us, but a lot of people that fought with us are no longer here. And my life also, even I've been here for 37 years now, I'll be 38 in May. Where I'm no longer doing the sports I was doing down on the waterfront as avidly as I did. But we love Hood River. The waterfront is public land. It is owned by all of you here in Hood River. That if you own it, it's our land. It's public land. You have to be very, very careful what you do with public land. And there have been times when we've had to put a line on a map and say, okay, I'm going to fight for this. And some of you know what that is. I'm now looking at waterfront area, without the marina green area, I had to put a line in, and you see where the line is, because that's where the parks are. We couldn't fight for everything. My last fight was the cable park. I was fighting the port on that. And we won. Finally, we got a development that made sense. And, but this does not, it is just flies in our face. And I think it was just a mistake. I mean, I can accept it as a mistake that you as board commissioners, and maybe you have it, as well as the executive director of the board, because I did not get back to you. He and I've talked. Did you ever get the actual, did you get the from Kelly at the county? Did you ever actually get the initiative language? You can answer that
No.
also.
We can follow up afterwards.
Okay, well, I think everybody should know that actually, because basically, since it's such a long time ago, I'll just tell you my side, since I'm up here. Since it was such a long time ago, guess what? We had to clear our papers. We've been fighting for many, many different things. I mean, there were other initiatives, and I have one of them in my stuff tonight. I think it was 16-4 or 416. Anyway, it had to do with the waterfront from the event site that way. But anyway, I guess I don't have a copy of the and when I went to the county to get a copy of what the actual initiative says, they were going to have to do a search because their archives of the county haven't been moved out of town. And they were going to charge me $100 an hour. $100 an hour. So I called Kevin and asked, he was going to see what he could do. And I hadn't heard back from you. So as to what, because we needed to explore. Anyway, you can see where I'm at. This is public land. You as board commissioners have to be very careful what you do to on and with public land, because the public, they don't like what's happening. They may come to meetings and complain. But I look at it in a different way. I look at, we're all in this together. We are all in this together. And when we work together, because I'm sounding aggressive and negative, but when we work together and put our heads together, goodness knows what we can come up with. And I mean that. And I've worked with Christy on some other, on other things. And it's, no one's going to have totally what they want, but we can find things to do. However, this is public land and it should be enjoyed by the public. In no way should there be a hotel on it. Hotels can go anywhere. They can even, there are all sorts of places where hotels can go in here in town. Okay, thank you. Sorry it went on for so long.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, and with that, thank you very much for your public comment. We will move forward to the consent agenda. Can you get a motion for the consent agenda?
I've got two questions
Oh, okay.
on item G and H, the rest of them.
Okay,
Let me just ask the question on G and H.
sure.
Okay, so on G, authorization letter of support for the USACE habitat restoration funding, that's along the Hood River, mouth of the Hood River.
Yep, exactly.
Have you gotten any kind of a schedule from them, how it relates to the construction process that's gonna go on?
Yeah, so no, this is really just trying to get money to do the study. And so I asked, well, what kinds of projects would be entailed? And that's what we're trying to do, is get the study in which all of that would be basically divulged. Now, they've been trying to do this for several years, and it hasn't been funded. So it is a congressional act,
So somewhere down the line, if,
yeah.
and I'm okay with this one, but we need to coordinate if funding is available, they do attract it. we need to make sure that we're coordinating back with them, because there's gonna be a lot of traffic out there.
Yeah, that makes total
I'm
sense.
not too worried about it because it's downriver and everything moves that way, so we're not.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if they're lucky enough to actually get the appropriation, then we'll follow up and make sure the timing works for everyone.
And the second one, which is on the approved purchase installation Bob's Glass, the Big Seven. My question was, we only got one response. And you had 3 on the bid list. Did you call the other 2 and ask them why they did not bid?
I actually called 7 contractors and most of them only work with vinyl. And they can't do the aluminum like we have at that spot.
And we can't change it? Why do we have to go back with aluminum?
Because we have to do a historical landmark review because of the district it's in right now. It's not a historical building, but it's in the area. So you can't change the facade without going through the city of Hood.
Is it worth it to go through the city of Hood River to try and get approval for vinyl?
We did.
Oh, okay.
They said it needs to match original because there's a huge cost difference. Considerable cost difference, but it has to match.
It's
To go vinyl, it's savings, but it has to match the original. Or they want to prove it, and we can't.
How much of the savings would it be?
It was about $12,000 to $15,000.
And what was the bid total?
29 in Geneva.
So it's roughly half the cost.
Yeah.
Now, how many more windows are we gonna eventually have to replace in Big Seven?
The replacement's not the problem. It was because you'd still have the frame, the glass can be replaced.
Okay, no, yeah, you're right.
We're adding.
Cut in new windows.
Yeah,
for
we're
this one.
cutting in new windows.
Do you foresee that we're gonna have to cut some more in?
There's always a possibility on the lower levels that would come from, tenant requests.
Along those lines, one question, would the city approve? I understand that they don't want the mismatch of new versus old. If we are considering the possibility of if the other windows are on a timeline, would the city approve all of the windows being vinyl?
That I did not ask.
Could we maybe find that out?
I can,
Because if we're near the end of their lifetime,
well, with these style of windows, it's the frames will last forever because it's aluminum. So you just replace the glass. So you wouldn't need to replace the whole window.
okay.
I noticed that Heights Glass, you were in conversations with them and then they just fell off the map.
Yes.
Do you think that they concluded that they would not be competitive and that's why they didn't, or just?
So with that, I'm not sure why. I don't know if the job was too big or they just didn't have all the tools to do, and I told them that we had a concrete cutting company.
Yeah.
So they were just on the installation. So I'm not really sure what happened there, but yes, once they got all the specs, it just kind of like, I didn't want to touch it. So.
I'm concerned that there's kind of a trend that I see here. But it seems like every time we go out, not every time. Some of the times we go out for bid, we get one. And I think it happened on the HVAC maintenance program. This is one. I think there's been a couple others. I'd sure like to know why. Is it something that's just particular for our type of work? Is it our contracting language that's causing people to get concerned? Or is it these one-offs that we've got, where we've got a very old building and we're trying to upgrade, but we can only do a little piece of it? And it's not matching.
Yeah.
That seems like more of that, but.
So with both of these contracts you're referring to, there's no contract language that is sent out. I just make a bazillion phone calls trying to get interest. I go all the way to Portland until they quit wanting to drive this direction. I go out to the Dalles, whoever's interested. maybe we can put it out a different way and get more interest from, just anybody, everybody. But I literally do a search on who does that type of work and I can start picking up the phone. And if I'm not happy, I keep calling.
Okay, then that, all questions are answered. Can I get a motion to approve the consent?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I second.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Informational reports. Does the commission have any questions about either of the monthly financial report or the bylaws? Not, we only have presentations and discussion items.
I've got one for the financial and it's a request. I like the report, Debbie, that you put together there, but I'd really, really like to start seeing a breakdown by the operating.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
You can save this one for,
I know, I ran out of time this month. I am so sorry. Because I intended to get that done for you. Next month. Because actually it's kind of done now, but next month.
well, don't wait for the month.
Okay, we can do that. Yeah.
I'd also like to suggest that the bylaws, the proposed bylaws, on page 85, section 15C, that specifies how we do board officer elections by term, be given a wording that allows that to be at our discretion as the board. Sure. It just doesn't make sense to me. I think they're very comprehensive and very good bylaws, but where they're specific, I feel like we should try to follow it. And so since this specificity there is different from how we do things, I'd just like it to be flexible. Sure, flexible.
Yeah, because I think at least since I've been on, the officers are kind of in spot for 2 years, not 1 year.
Yeah.
So this is a change.
We could always choose to do things differently, as Christie has pointed out. But
Anyone want to be the president?
but it would just be nice if the bylaws were written in a way that allows that flexibility.
Absolutely. In fact, what I'm hoping is that if you review it, if there's any area that you would like to kind of have a more robust discussion about, I'll bring that list and then we can, take 15 minutes at the next meeting and I'll have all those areas kind of broken out, different alternatives. And, I figured that would be easier for you to say which ones do you want to debate? Because this is pretty comprehensive. And so,
First stab, it was
I think you
great.
did a nice job.
Yeah.
I think it's a good document.
So give yourself a couple weeks, take a look at it, send me areas that you'd like me to kind of summarize for more discussion.
Okay. Okay, presentation and discussion
Can I
items.
make a suggestion before you get to that?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Since we have some guests here tonight, I'm sure would love nothing more than to be here all night listening to us talk about everything, but can we move presentation B regarding the marina up to A? That way we can get through that first and respect their time
That's
if they
fine.
choose to leave here.
Okay, then presentation and discussion item B, Marina up. My gosh, I have a spot on my glasses, Marina Upland Development Approach, Mr. B, and I believe Mr. Buffy, yes.
Yes, great. Thank you for this. And yes, I have been waiting to get information from the county, not just on the 1994 ballot measure, but there was, I believe, one in 98 and another one in the early 2000s. And so yes, there has been some follow-up on that front. So the point of this discussion is really to take a look at this process for considering development potentially at this site. Obviously, we've gotten some good information tonight. But I think that if there were to be an open house where the commission would try to get public comment about type of amenities in this area, it would make sense to have some type of background presentation. And I think that's an area of specific interest, and maybe there isn't necessarily an open house at this point, but staff still goes through this presentation to provide you kind of a comprehensive background on everything from the legal standing of those 30-year-old ordinances that aren't popping up in our records, to the land use, to, the financial situation, not just of those buildings over there, but to the ports. Real priority of trying to find creative ways to generate positive revenue to pay for our parks when the tolls go away. So, so really just wanted to kind of lay out this process for you, see which of these areas you'd like for staff to focus on. And just give us some direction on how you want to proceed. I mean, I think there's a lot of potential here for some good information to be brought forth to the board. That's at the bottom of page 125 if you're looking at the PDF.
Yeah. Do any commissioners have any discussion items that they would like to give on feedback?
Well, it just seems to me that, I mean, the DMV and a beautiful waterfront spot that doesn't, to take advantage of the waterfront. It doesn't seem appropriate. I would like that building to be, or that space to be used for something that public's using it for waterfront enjoyment and not something that's completely inside that could be anywhere. I mean, that seems obvious, right? To me, anyway.
Give you my view, first off, I didn't know that there was an ordinance that, and no, I hadn't been in the area. So it kind of surprised me. When I step back and look at the lots, I'm wondering, should we hold this one off for a while? Let it lay. And if we're gonna spend some calories instead of spending on, I know, Ben, you're working on the roundabout here. I think we ought to be spending calories here, what we're doing with all of this. If we're gonna spend any money and let this go. And maybe later on, it's take these two buildings out, do something with the area. But this is the big piece right here. And should we be focused on that? That's just my opinion.
Remind me when the First Street realignment is.
That'd be phase 2 of that project.
Yeah, but we could be thinking about.
From a financial perspective, absolutely, yes. I agree with both of you. One thing I think it's important for people to remember is that in the last couple of years, and I'll answer everybody's question here, we gave staff, once we knew bridge tolls were going away, clear instructions to look at all sectors of the port and see where we are making money, your money, losing your money, where there are opportunities in the future. So they are following instruction to look at each of these areas. There are places where we won't be able to do anything. There are places that we will, but we're going to look at everything. And I think we owe you that. This particular area is losing your money. If you live in this district every year, it's losing money. It's not a lot, but it's not making any money, and it is losing money. But maybe nothing happens. Maybe something happens. We need to look at everything to see what's possible and what's not. So I appreciate this all being brought to our attention. I was in high school when that ordinance passed. I did not know about it. This is why we look at everything. And I'm glad we're doing it. I'm glad staff's doing it. Newspaper article went a little bit too far, in my opinion. Our instructor just were interested in hearing ideas and looking at stuff. And I'm fine with that. The first idea was somebody like, oh, hey, we'd like to do a hotel thing. We're not going down any path yet. We just want to know what's possible. What are our options moving forward on each? And it's going to come up again in all kinds of different areas. We just want to know. And then we move forward with that. So I want to know what's possible. I want to know where we can save your money, where we can perhaps add to what the community needs and what the community wants. That's why I want to look at things. I'm not set on anything, but I just want to know what's possible and then what people want.
Well, and I think we got some good feedback.
Absolutely.
And can
So
I,
thank you for coming down, anyway.
can I say one thing? By the way, there's no green space we're actually using on the boutique hotel spot down there. I don't know if anybody realizes it, that everything that you're looking at is to the east of that playground is for the boutique hotel. So if it is, I have designs.
Are you the designer? Are you the architect?
So.
So we haven't gone anywhere
We
yet.
haven't gone anywhere down that road. My point, I mean, I'm hearing everything that all you guys are saying. We're losing the green space, we're losing the waterfront. Well, right now you're gonna lose a building here, a building here, and then possibly 2 buildings down the road. But that green space still stays green. It's not going anywhere.
You want me to argue with you?
Let's not do that.
No. Yeah. So I would say,
Can I jump in?
yes, sir.
I think that I don't think that the purpose of this discussion was necessarily to figure out what the end
No.
result, it was more kind of a process.
Yes.
And so just for the sake of your time, is there any part of this process that you want staff to explore? And I'm thinking those items as far as in the presentation.
I like what you've got here for background presentation. I feel like you've hit all the relevant things. And I think it would be very useful to have some kind of a forum, obviously open to everyone, where we can talk about what the overview situation of the port is, what the sorts of things we're looking at, and really lay all the information out there. And then, yeah, if all the information's out there and the district doesn't want us to do something, then, that's how we go.
Yeah.
But if we're gonna have that kind of a discussion.
Yeah.
I think it'd be very healthy for the public.
Yeah.
I think, Debbie, we need that report that shows.
Yeah.
If the bridge went away, where are we today? We're losing money here, we're losing money there, in total, we're underwater. And we've gotta be able to do at least this amount someplace, and here's what we're doing, looking at various options.
Yeah, and I think that the biggest thing that as a commission, if I could surmise the last intention of this board is, I think we've all said it many times, we're a recreational port, we're a public serving port. We don't ship things, we're not a container port, we're not a cruise, we're a recreational port. And I think that as we look forward in any endeavor that we're looking at, there's some big factors we need to always have in the back of our head is the new bridge and how is that going to be incorporated and work within our waterfront. Being stewards of the land that is going to be mostly for the public, but again, we are the smallest taxing agency with the biggest real estate holdings. And so if we're going to be the parks people, we have to be very realistic on, we don't get as much money as Parks and Rec. And so we have to figure out different ways to fund that. So a lot of balance is there. And I think where we kind of got a little bit, to no fault of our own, everyone likes to identify a project with a name, and boutique hotel sounds really pretty. But I think that the intention of everyone here is, we need to look at this as a holistic approach. What do we see moving forward? What's going to work for everyone? And not just a short-term outcome. And I think if we continue to do that, we'll keep everyone happy.
So is the direction to staff is to develop an agenda topics list of a public meeting talking about the whole list of property and big picture, here's the revenue streams that we have today. Tomorrow, there's a great big one that's going away. And without that, here's where we have deficits throughout the organization. And here's what we're trying to do to bring that back into balance. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, definitely think if you look at on the approach, the background presentation. So, summarize what the loss of tolls are gonna do to the waterfront recreation. Show a high level overall financial situation for funding parks, which is what you're addressing. Show maps of the sites. Show the inefficiency of those two buildings over there with the new software reports.
But again, I would make sure, don't just limit it to the marina area. Do the whole thing, including lot 100. The whole enchilada.
Gotcha.
Here's where we are.
I'm fine with what you have here, but we need to front end that with a legal opinion from Port Council.
Yep.
I
Absolutely.
don't have any reason to dispute anything I've heard tonight, but I'd like to hear Port Council's take on it.
And that would be item 6.
Should be on one, but whatever, as long as it's there.
Order, yeah, put up to the top.
What can you do?
So then if I'm hearing what you're saying is go ahead and focus on that presentation, including the more expansive to the entire waterfront. Let's discontinue the process as it's laid out here. Bring the report back to the full commission for more discussion.
Sounds good.
With the intent that it gets set up that this will come out an open house or.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Right. Then we'll go back to. Sorry, my computer just went crazy here real quick. Thank you. Is that you?
Yeah. I was just gonna thank Ben for the wonderful segue into looking at the overall picture.
Yes.
Respect to you guys' time. I mean, we want to do a question and answer session because it's a fairly tight. Apologize for adding such a stack of paper to your report, your large meeting packet, but we did a deep dive into everything at the airport. What are the options? I mean, some of them are viable, some of them are a long ways out, some of them are, as we've stated, stuff we can do immediately, like building the T hangars. We have a lot of opportunity at the airport. It's just a matter of what direction and how far. I mean, I took 2 phone calls today in regards to private builders wanting to build hangars at the River Airport. They quizzed me about the Dallas Airport, they quizzed me about the River Airport, and both of them want to do something here. So we have, as the report states, a lot of land lease opportunities. We have through the fence agreements that have been requested. We have a number of different things there. And again, I can go page by page through this, or if you guys have already done your research in it, I'd rather be more focused on that and respect for your time.
I went through your report and it's a good report. Appreciate that. A couple of things that I got kind of drawn to is that this operational improvement plan, as far as building hangars and so on. I'd love to do it. I don't personally like land lease. I like to be able to own it. So what can we do? Is there federal grants that we can go after? And I think the answer is no.
For vertical construction.
How can we get
the bill grant, the bipartisan infrastructure, that is pretty much the end of, at least in the present arena, that is the end of the revenue generating money available for that type of stuff. We might find, there might be FEMA money, there might be some of these things. Again, I think, I believe I said it once before, sometime in the next 90 days, I think we'll start fleshing out and start seeing what is actually going to be available to us again. Might be quicker than that, might be longer than that, but I don't, as of right now, No, as far as doing vertical, I think we're gonna have to really focus on enhancing the public and private sector. What actually makes the private sector want to build on our airport? And there's a number of hurdles, one of them being the land lease. And you have the guidance and the grant assurances through the FAA that say not more than 40 years. You see airports that go 50 years, at the 50-year mark, the FAA deems that as disposal of property, and they are very adamant that that's not going to happen anymore. There's so much change happening in aviation that they're not going to let us give up ground. So
Honestly, I think our airport's desirable enough that I don't see that being a huge problem. I mean, if we have people that wanted to be at the airport, and we say, hey, it's a 40-year.
agreed. I mean, and we've run into on our Jeanette Road side, and we've listened to a number of the different, as we've come up with different ideas as far as what we were going to require of the developer to enhance that property. It became very counterproductive for them, and they walked away. So how do we make that
A win-win.
Yeah, it's got to be a win-win. I mean, I wrote that down on sticky notes in there 2 or 3 times. That it's just like we've got to figure out how to make that win-win because we need that investment. And I shared previously the Jeanette Road idea. What I see and a way to make that a better win-win, less investment for everybody. And one of the gentlemen I spoke with this afternoon wants to build a 60 by 120 hangar, which is it's pretty near $1 million investment.
The other thing that I think about too, I agree with the idea of owning it and trying not to do land leases, but I also agree with a win-win situation as well as the fact of there is only so much profit we can make at the airport. We only can reinvest it within the airport. And so, you know, how much of our wheels do we want to spend in really trying to generate a really massive profit center when we can't really capitalize off of it?
We need to be
We want to make
in
it
the black.
beautiful.
We need to be in the black enough
Yes.
that we can afford our share of future required FAA required infrastructure projects like paving. So
because we'll always need to come up with 10% from an FAA.
yeah, unless the state comes to our rescue with some of it.
And we were successful with a portion of that in this last round.
On timeline for this, if you want to be CT hangers out in Q1 26, when do you need to go?
We need to go out to bid.
Yeah.
We're putting a bid package together. We'll be needing to go out to bid in the next 60 to 90 days.
And then should I expect to hear from you at spring planning on terminal building and moving forward with that?
I'm working on numbers on that. One of the really encouraging things, again, everybody knows I manage Dallas Airport as well. There's a project, the business park project up there came in. The engineer's estimate was at 3.1 million for that business park project. It actually came in at 2.1. So favorable bidding environment in that regard. It came in way less.
How many bidders did you have?
6.
And that was low bid?
They couldn't do math. It started out at 1.8 and ended up at 2.1.
Okay, what was the next bidder?
2.21, 22, 24, 27, 31, and 34.
Pretty widespread.
2 of them were at or above the engineer's estimate.
So Jeff, I like the SWOT analysis a lot. I do have one question that it's a small thing I'm picking out of here that has to do with the condensation mitigation issue in the sea hangar block.
Yep.
It looks like you're suggesting we go with not spray foam now, like a different insulation solution. Am I reading that right?
There's 2 different solutions. I didn't like the first estimate. Felt like it was really high until I got the second estimate, and the first one looks really good now. For the spray foam, the second company that I had come look at it also does basically they glue little tabs to the roof, put bat insulation on it, and then cover it with the white plastic, like you see the inside of a lot of commercial industrial space. It's the white vapor barrier. They can do that this time of year. The spray foam, they need a dry day, they need to not have the ceilings flooding. And I have to have everybody get all their stuff out because we can't chance having somebody get spray foam on their airplane or any of their belongings.
So we had talked before and you'd said that spray foam solution has been implemented for this problem elsewhere and it's been a successful solution.
Yes, according to the vendors. I have not found any place that I can actually go witness this and discuss it, but they said they've done it.
Yeah, but so then I wonder about the fiberglass insulation. Is that have a similar record?
I know that's how, like all the new hangars that we've built at the Dalles, that's what's on the inside of them. The Life Flight building, the Bunker buildings, all of those have that insulation, fiberglass insulation with the white vapor barrier.
So one
Where
concern
does the vapor go?
Yeah,
I mean, where does the moisture go? I would assume it's in the insulation and it dries itself out.
one concern that I would have is vermin with fiberglass insulation. We already have birds and mice and rats and all sorts of things that like to try to get in. So that I don't.
Paying rent, they gotta go.
No, I hear you. I hear you.
That's our income stream.
And I don't know from the facility side if that's a serious concern as I think it is in my head. Or
I don't see the bad insulation being an issue.
Okay.
With we got birds in vacant spaces. I mean, there's no insulation in those other buildings, and the birds have moved into the building that we're referring to is the newest. Does seem to be the tightest. I didn't in our hangar inspections, I didn't see any evidence that the birds have even been inside that building.
is the batting insulation cheaper than the spray foam?
It is, and I apologize, I don't have that number in front of me. It's quite a bit cheaper, and they could do it fairly quickly, because
That's okay.
between Molly and I, we're both still taking a fair amount of complaints about the moisture.
Are we talking right now also about the T hangers? Is this wrapped in? Is this like a
The insulation that you're referring to is more just my,
no. I mean the new T hangers.
yes,
Yeah,
the insulation was more just of my monthly report.
great.
The T hangers, yes, they are in one of the big decisions that I feel like I need to have an answer from
Yeah.
you guys on coming very rapidly is the added expense of doing a 13 unit hangar.
Yeah.
Presently,
I'm in favor of that because cash flow is king. And even though it takes us longer to pay back, we've got more cash flow and that helps us immeasurably. So
I think in the long range game,
Yeah. so and that this is like 131. And is there something somewhere else? I think it's just 31. Yeah, it talks about some of the stuff. I feel like, yeah, and then 133. We've got a 13 unit option and a 10 unit option.
So how much money are you asking from us?
we haven't got the bids back yet, but we had a project that Precision Approach did in Hermiston and one in Prineville. One came in at 900,000 for a 10 unit T hangar, and the other one came in at 1.3. Take the average on that. You're talking $110,000 a unit, basically. So we'd be adding an additional 300-ish thousand.
And how much money do we have available to spend?
Well, in the grants, I think that's
A lot of this is covered.
that's the 665, right? 665 is out of pocket. From the floor.
Yeah, so how much do we have available to this?
Well, we could come up with $10 million if we had to. I would not recommend spending that much.
$10
But
million has to cover us for catastrophic.
Well, we still have, but that would leave us with 3 to 5 million for catastrophic. Besides that, we have
Reserve. What's our total reserve?
we have right now about 15 million.
Between the bridge and the general.
Yeah, for everything, in total, for everything.
Yeah, so 15 million and again, what's the number that they want for? About 400 or 500,000?
For the large, for the 13 unit, 665.
600.
Yeah.
Yep.
So then it just comes down to, you know, if you invest it here, you can't invest it somewhere else. It's an opportunity cost that you'd have to look at.
And again, what's the payback? It was 14 years.
About 14 years on the 13 versus I think less than half for the 10 units.
Cash flow per year is how much again? On the 13?
70,000.
Yeah. I mean, that makes a big difference at the airport.
It doesn't take us quite to self-sustaining, but it gets us,
Get you a
stone's throw away. And I think with some of the cost cutting measures and some of the different stuff, Ryan and I talk about ideas and ways of.
These could be built by roughly when? When could we start?
We could start construction as early as this fall, this coming fall.
And how long does it take to put them up?
With the month and a half, but they would actually be the north side would be able to be occupied this winter as soon as they were completed. South side to take advantage of some of the funding opportunities and get to be able to build them. We are going to go with a turf taxiway on that south side, which would be a grass taxiway that will be seeded this fall and give it all through winter to this coming the future fall. And that way the grass is established before.
But basically, we can have those units filled with generating revenue before our bridge tolls go away. So it makes a big difference in helping the airport reach that break even.
I think we should go.
And then we
With 13.
And
Is that your recommendation? My recommendation is that we have precision approach, we put the bid package out with an additive bid for the 3 units and see where we're coming at. And then come back to the table here and say.
But our intent would be to go.
Go with
I don't
the-
like going out for bid and having people spend money when we're not gonna do it.
Right.
Tourism.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's a no brainer, especially because we're getting so much money from the feds.
So your request is to not even worry about the 10 unit, just go straight to the 13? Go with the additive bid?
Well, if you think the additive bid is a more strategic approach, go for that. But if not, if you think we're gonna do better by just saying, hey, 13, then do that. I don't know if there's a difference.
Difference is 3 or.
Yeah, I know.
Probably the biggest thing with the additive bid,
Yeah.
or with the 10 unit, we don't have to have fire suppression. If you're over 12,000 square feet, then you have to have, not suppression, but we'll have to have a firewall in someplace in that building.
Yeah.
With those additional 3 units. It's not insurmountable. It's a couple layers of 5/8 sheetrock.
Yeah.
It's just, it changes, it'll just change the project a little bit. I think it is prudent to, I think the 10 unit with the additive bid is the way to put it out on the street.
I'm happy to trust your judgment.
I think I have a thumbs up from the commission.
Okay. What else? I think the idea of getting it to self-sufficiency, I think a lot of it's going to be those relationships with these potential developers. I'm going to be bringing in a lot of different ideas in regards to that very soon, especially with the 2 phone calls today. I've asked everybody to put something in writing and tell me what you want to do, because we'll get it there, because I think the land leases, again, the opportunity for through the fence. I mean, there's a number of things called out in our master plan that I believe I don't think when the master plan was put together that they necessarily felt that that we would be touching them quite this soon or have the potential of touching them. I know the Von Photos have put in a request to build a couple of ag hangars on the south side of the airport there, and that would require it through the fence. Our traditional through the fence agreements where the homes are at down off of Orchard Road, they're based on a tie down fee, $35 a month or whatever, and it's not a real good solution. I spent a lot of time on the phone with the FAA compliance officer Peter Doyle and discussing different through the fence options and how they're doing it all over. He's navigating one in Colorado right now that he continues to share his feedback from these different airports. But as you look at some of the examples in here, of different areas for future development and through the fences. Those are almost like a toll, for lack of better. If there's one home, I'm gonna use just a random number. It's $1,000 a year to have access. Build 2 homes, 10 homes, whatever, that turns into a much bigger number because each of those homes, each of those accesses becomes an additional fee. And that a few of those takes us all where public doesn't put any money into this airport. That's a fantastic place to be. That's where we want the airport. And that's like Tor said, I mean, it's not about the FAA didn't design this process of subsidizing general aviation to be a profit center. It's designed to sustain aviation.
I think it looks good. I think we're on track to have an airport be in the black in the very short future. And we will be probably one of the only airports in the state of Oregon in that awesome situation. I mean, maybe you got the Dallas.
Yeah, it's close. I got that one close too. Maybe it's taking some creative commissions and boards to do that.
Yeah, excellent. So
I didn't miss the part where it said the AMS is gonna need a new contract, should we choose to do that, so if that's a recommendation, we need to hear. Commissioner Beaker or staff.
There's no contract in front of you this evening, just give staff direction to work with AMS and we'll get something to you at the March meeting.
yes.
Yes.
Can I ask one additional thing? Send me an email or tell me now. I know which the top items are the T hangers, but I would really like to have you share with me your thoughts. Which direction where would you send me in this equation as you've read through the report? What do you see the most viable? What's going to satisfy the public? I have an ear to the public as well, and I want to make sure that we're doing what we want to do. I know none of us want to spend any more of our tax dollars not efficiently, so at all. Yeah.
I'll give you one input, and it's pretty consistent month on month on month that we're gonna have to move out of this building.
Yep.
Can we use the airport? Can we use replacing this building up there as a catalyst to do something nicer up there for an FBO, for maintenance? I want a restaurant in the area. When you think about it holistically with Wham gets a lot of traffic up there. There's no real restaurant in the area other than Twin Peaks.
Which is fantastic.
Which is okay. I mean,
Fantastic.
it's okay.
So agreed. The building, the example that I showed in there is a brand new building they built in Ellen. It has all of that opportunity within that structure. I'm actually going to go meet with the people who built it and walk through just what their process was, what they spent. Hopeful that the bidding numbers, the price of steel works in our favor. The one hiccup that I did have talking with Hood River Planning or Hood River Public Works is that they didn't feel that there is capacity within the sewer system to actually have a restaurant at that location. So back to.
That's a conversation.
Yeah, that's another conversation, but I mean, again, there's so many alternatives out there now to ways to do things that we need to be, I'm gonna be exploring some other ideas.
I guess like you pointed out in your report, cost cutting is more promising than
That's the way I've
fundraising.
always run my personal businesses. Is
Absolutely.
I don't have the revenue, I just find out where I got it.
My long running goal has been to minimize the groundkeeping costs of the airport, which I know you've been working on. So keep hard charging there. I mean, we're gonna have a full year of detailed numbers on this, so we can be able to compare that to past years, and that'll give us a really clear idea.
And Kevin and Debbie have been getting, that is exactly the dive I want to do. I mean, I think we need to, just go through it line by line and let's figure out where we.
Right. I
We
mean,
don't have to
we
spend.
have to
How do we
do
be more
the
efficient?
investment in the wetland mitigation, which our staff is doing a fantastic job, man. It looks gorgeous. But like much of the rest of the airport doesn't need to be kept like a golf green or something. So the cost cutting is, I think, the top priority, and then the T hangers is huge.
Mhm.
Well, I hope by next meeting I can bring you back a couple of potential land application for land.
Yeah,
land
the Jeanette Road had proposals. That's something that would, fits the character of our airport. Those are developments that are not going to create a lot of traffic, but they're going to promote aviation in the community, and they seem like a good fit. So.
Okay, thank you very much for all your work. This was really well presented. Okay. Mr. Greenwood, do you have anything from your executive director report? That you wanted to-
Speaker has.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Please.
Okay, so Commissioner Fox had pointed out in our meeting prior to the holidays that if we table our arrangement with Cat and Meadows for the shuttle, then there might be a risk that we never revisit it. We just find ourselves, on the same place in the wheel next year. And after speaking with folks at Cat, they are certainly open to renegotiating something for this next winter, but they really would like to have the details hammered out by their spring budget.
Okay.
So there's two elements the way I see it to this agreement we have with them. Part of it's community facing. We, in a sense, subsidize this shuttle service to allow people to get up to the mountain, and I think that's an important and valuable thing for the port to be doing. But we also are providing parking and shuttle service for Meadows, which is a for-profit business. So it's a balance. How much money do we ask for from them for a season? Director Greenwood told me that I think when we rent out lot 1 during the winter and such it's like $200 a day or something like that.
Yeah, I think it depends on how much.
Right. I prorate it for how much space the people are using, like the drone people. They're just using a small area for their exhibitions, or when we had the Mountain Railroad, they used the whole south path.
Right.
So for them this year, when I did their contract, it was in 2024. And so we charged them $100 a day for the winter use of that. And I let them know, that we're going to be seeing price increases for the next year.
So I noticed that you, in the director's report, Daryl has been talking to them. There's something. There's a. Find what page is your?
Yeah, I don't know. I was looking through that and I don't think there was anything in there. I'm looking. This is such a.
Here it is, bottom of page 129. Daryl Stafford, waterfront manager, met with, nope, that's the passport.
That's the passport. Which is awesome, but
Have there been any talks with Meadows or Cat about this in the last few months?
not recently. It's kind of a busy time.
We just had this discussion a couple meetings ago and we decided to leave this season.
Correct, alone.
As is.
We're talking about next winter.
Discuss, yeah.
And
So he wants
Cat
to
would,
start the discussion for next winter.
Cat would
Okay,
like
for
us
all
to
Okay,
make a request now so that something can be worked out prior to their budget.
They have their
So
annual
you-
planning similar to us.
so you're considering the fees for Cat and Meadows?
So I don't
It's
know
kind of
exactly
together.
how this works.
So I think what I think is a good start would
Yeah.
be, because I know our staff is very full plated,
Yeah.
is could we facilitate a meeting between a member of CAT, a member of Meadows, and a member of the port, a representative from each organization to sit down? They can kind of come to the table and say, this is what we'd like to get. They can kind of hammer it out and then bring that back to the commission for commissioner approval.
So awesome idea. I'll volunteer to go to that meeting.
Right.
My question then is for this commission, what do we want to see from that?
I have to ask to be involved in that meeting, actually.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I use, as it relates not to Mount Hood Meadows so much, but as to CAT, we've given instruction to staff regarding an infrastructure DDA down there. That they're participating with us on, and I want to make sure that we're working with them.
Okay.
And so I'll go to the meeting with you.
Okay. Sounds good.
I don't disagree with anything anybody wants to do, changes for next year, but
yeah,
I want to be sensitive to those discussions we're having also.
So I think if you
I
guys,
was down there a couple of days ago and took a bunch of pictures, and there's a bunch of cars parked in our parking lot. And there's buses there and so on. Why can't we make this really, really simple? And during the summertime, we charge these guys for parking in the parking lot. Why can't we do the same thing in the wintertime? Maybe we give a 50% discount.
yeah, I think that's the conversation that needs to happen.
Yeah, we could.
We don't have enforcement during the winter. That's the problem.
Everybody trusts everybody.
But I think that's a good thing to have the conversation of the balance of how do we make this a win-win situation for all parties involved.
Right. So right now, the agreement is $3,000 a season.
That's pretty close.
To get all the information, I wasn't prepared for
It's
this
no
topic.
worries.
It's
tonight,
changed.
because I don't have it in front of me.
Every year it's changed. The dynamics between Mount Hood Meadows and CAT has changed from year to year. So I don't know if there's 2 years where it's been consistent.
That's why if you disconnect this thing totally, you got people parking in our parking lot, we gotta maintain it, we gotta keep it clean, we gotta resurface it. And we do a discount, and then all you're talking to Cat and Mount Hood Meadows is if you wanna charge them to park along the road, which I don't think we do.
Well, and maybe that's what comes out of this discussion of this meeting, is I think that now that things have changed, relationships have changed, dynamics have changed. We just need to sit down with the organizations and make sure everyone's on the same page. And whether that's, we have a contract with Meadows or CAT and they pay us and they deal with parking, or we deal with the parking, they deal with their buses.
Ben, what big implications are there of this future or this agreement we have with CAT to this that you see right now?
One is I want to preserve a good working relationship with them as relates, and I think it's important to address their concerns here. They're in a position to help us out with our infrastructure down there. You guys have already heard about that. Any development on lot 1 in an area of that will have a transit center somewhere as a piece of that is required. And I would like to work with them when possible. It doesn't have anything specifically to do with this, but I think with their willingness to work with us, I want to make sure we're with them.
No, they're great. I talked to them and I said, what do you guys think about paying more? And they said, yeah, we could do that, but let's get together and talk about it before. So
Perfect.
Do you guys just want us to do this meeting and kind of ask for more money and see what they say?
I would talk about that whole thing.
The whole thing,
Lots of
yeah.
options.
What are the other options? Can we go to a parking based option?
Cause maybe it's a logistical nightmare on their end as well.
Right, right. Okay, so if everybody likes that, let's do that. I'm good with that. I appreciate the concern not to like just table this forever, but to go ahead and deal with it. And they would like us to deal with it now rather than later, so.
Great.
Can I just give, I know I already said this in last meeting, but. And I do understand. The parking fee thing, but I feel pretty strongly that this is something that we're doing for locals to let them park there and be able to take the CAT bus up. It's expensive to go ski, it's expensive to pay and everything, and be for the public to be able to park down there and ride CAT. I just think it's something that I like doing. Like I like that.
I would just like to see the trade-off.
Mhm.
You know, it could be, it's cheaper, especially if we could give them a steep discount for the winter. So you're not running money through CAT and back to us, it's just direct drive and saves everybody money.
Yeah, maybe just park and ride fee for the day instead of hourly or something.
Yeah, something.
I think.
But I also like your point of whatever is decided, we as a port need to celebrate it, the partnership and publicize it to the community is this is another thing that the port is providing for its constituents as a benefit. So,
So you must have that discussion.
yeah. Okay. Any other thing? Okay, so now we're on the executive director's report. Have anything you want to highlight?
Do to add, if there's any questions, let me know. Do my best to answer those.
Okay. And if not, any commissioner or committee reports?
Just the Commissioner Gearing and I attended the SDAO conference for special districts in Bend,
Thank you very much for being here.
where we spent 4 days studying and learning about all sorts of public service things.
Did you pass?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I attended sessions on cybersecurity, on disaster preparedness, avoiding litigation, all kinds of good stuff. So it was very productive, and it was a good team building trip as well. Yeah. Brian came, Marcel was there, Kevin was there, and Molly was there, so it's good.
Good.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, and with that, then we can move to our action items. Mr. Greenwood.
Yes, so in front of you, I'm not going to read the entire staff report, but as you know, with everything that's going on back in DC, in addition to just the slow nature of federal grants, the Bridge Authority has found itself in a little bit of a pickle. I think the biggest issue really is that the Bridge Authority did find other loan opportunities, but they all included interest components, and the interest is not a reimbursable expense. And so there's significant funds in the Bridge Authority, the TIFIA loan reserve, and we have about $4 or $5 million in the Bridge R&R operations fund, and that's where I think the line of credit extension, we currently have $500,000 with the Bridge Authority to cover government relations expenses and those types of travel expenses. But clearly they're going to be running out of that very closely. And so if the commission were to decide to extend that to $1 million, that would, staff's recommendation would be that would come out of the Bridge operations reserve. So, it's critical for the Port of Hood River that this bridge be replaced as quickly and as efficiently as possible. The cost for the port to continue to maintain this bridge and deal with the capital repairs are going to catch up with us, for lack of a better term. And so, due to our unique situation in this partnership with the Bridge Authority, I think that we are in a very important role to help through this, quite frankly, really unique time in our history, nationally and locally. So anyway, Jake Anderson is here, and Grant is here as well. And so they are representatives from the Bridge Authority, I believe. I'll speak for Commissioner.
No, I'll speak. I'm going to withdraw as far as any comments or participation, since I'm a co-chair of the new Bridge Authority and as well as a commissioner here. So I'm going to try and keep my mouth shut.
So just to summarize, Frank,
Write that down.
let's see. Go.
What's that? No, it's just more.
So there's just two requests. One is the access to the TIFIA loan reserve fund. And then the second request is the additional $500,000 loan. With that being, that would be settled when the new bridge opens up.
Let's get the obvious question out of the way. There's about $5 million on request number one. There's about $5 million there right now, and that'll continue to accrue. That money was set aside specifically to show local match for TIFIA. Will withdrawing money from that in any way jeopardize TIFIA?
I can answer that. It will not, because the way it would be written, the agreement will be written that the money would be to pay the expenses. And then as soon as the grant revenue is received back to cover those expenses, that would immediately go back into that. So all that would be lost is the interest on that money over a short period of time, and that will not impact what will ultimately be needed for the TIFIA reserve.
And nothing in our, I guess we probably haven't applied for the TIF yield loan yet, so we haven't agreed to only use that money for that particular thing, so we can withdraw it for.
We can.
Okay,
Yes, yes.
that's the question number one.
So I don't know if you want Jake and Grant to.
I already talked to Jake and he answered all my questions and I feel comfortable with it. I support it.
Yeah, the one point of clarification that I wanted to make sure was understood, because it wasn't clear to me when we first spoke, and then, but Kevin clarified it with me today, which I appreciate, is that the money for the line of credit extension is not reserve money that we would be able to invest in any sort of immediate projects that would benefit Port financially. This would come from, this line of credit extension would come from funds that are already earmarked for repair and replacement. So the only thing that I would want to make sure of is in the language that we have with the authority is that, yes, we would agree to this 1 million extension. However, there needs to be some sort of a approval process in case there is something that supersedes, like a barge strike or something, where we would have to divert the funds for an immediate repair, and I don't know how that would. Do you understand what I'm saying, Jacob?
Something catastrophic.
If there was some sort of a catastrophic thing and we were unable to fulfill the $1 million line of credit because the funds are coming from that bridge repair replacement, how do we make sure that that's just very clear?
Don't want to speak off the cuff. It would be something for the finance department to understand on setting priority to that line of credit that would say in times of extreme circumstance, you would just give us a 10-day notice that we wouldn't be able to spend any further money out of that line of credit. I mean, you could put it in there simple as something like that.
Okay, but that would be okay with the authority. That's the only question that I would have is.
Well, I think we all use the bridge, and we know if you guys are having to spend multiple millions of dollars on the order of $7 to $10+ million, we're all in a world of hurt, and so we're all going to be, as I'd like to say, this is a marriage. We're all in this together. You know, the price of removing the bridge continues to climb. Now, we're looking at the removal being over $100 million in cost.
So the first I heard about this line of credit increase was when I wrote my packet. It never came up before then. I wish it would have. I've talked to everybody about it. Tonight is the first I've heard where the money's coming from. How much money is in that fund currently?
There's about $5 million in that fund.
So this is not the same fund we're talking
It's
about?
not the same 5 million. Correct.
Okay, and I ask that because if now, where is the first 500,000 that we've approved a year ago coming out of that same fund?
Yes.
Was just the second?
No, the first 500,000 is also coming out of that. So out of the 5 million, you'd be committing 1 million for this.
Makes sense, and that will still, again, it can continue to accrue. We have deferred to the tune of 50 million in required maintenance out here. At some point, we're going to have to start thinking about painting, deck replacement, things like that, should this be required to stay open longer than we had originally planned. So I'm fine with where the money's coming from, but we have to start thinking pretty hard. I would like to know a little bit more about the time frames of when some of these critical infrastructure on this bridge are due to be done and have to be done, and how much they're going to cost. Because if we have 5 million that we have to spend 2 years from now, we better make sure that this will accrue from now 4 back up to 5 by that time. Make sense? So I just don't know that's what I don't know.
So would it be helpful to know when it's repaid?
No, I don't. It'll be repaid when the bridge is built.
what I'm, and this is before somebody on the commission, when we first started this whole group, we deferred a lot of maintenance on the current bridge.
So Ben, I think I can speak to your question. I'm gonna speak for my mute colleague and.
And Mike, if you have a good answer.
He won't be able to.
This is so fun.
I'll rely on Kevin from our internal, our bridge committee meeting, so I'll have Kevin here to correct my errors and ignorance. Bridge is good, in good shape structurally. Our ODOT engineer report, solid. What we were hearing from our engineers was that the painting wasn't necessarily going to be this massive 50 million all or one sort of thing, that if things come up, we could sort of do things gradually. And looking at the timeline of required maintenance, there's nothing really big coming.
So we don't have $5 to $7 million. We know we have to spend
No.
on maintenance over the course of 5 to 7 years.
No, not that I can
And if
see.
you go back to that fall plan, and we had the updated 12-year CIP.
Right.
Mhm.
So if you look back in that, I can send it back out.
Yeah, no, I just want to make sure that
No, it's a great
citizens of
question.
this community's money is where it needs to be for what we know we have to do. And if we do have some extra now that we can
Right.
allow to be used for this, that's fine. I just want to make sure that we're not having now then a year from now, take it from somewhere else to cover a known cost.
Yeah.
Have the answers now, I'm good.
So I think this next year, we got some miscellaneous steel repairs and some spot.
I'm good at the answer.
So, yeah, so it looks good. And also, a little bird told me that I should remind you that as of July 2026, all the toll revenue is going to stay with the bridge, so that amount available for maintenance is going to grow.
It grows, and maintenance comes first and then.
Yeah, but yeah,
Thank you. Yeah.
absolutely. So I think we look good.
I didn't have a chance to speak with you, Ben. I'm sorry about that. I got to the rest of the board. One of the other things that the reason why we had to bring this forward is we've been having some issues with our Washington, state of Washington grant. And so we've been having to pull dollars out of this account for things that we will get reimbursed for in the future. And when we get reimbursed for those, it'll go right back into the line of credit. So that $1 million, really what the only things that are going to be coming out of that are the unallowables, the things that we cannot get reimbursed anywhere else. And so that $1 million should last us quite a few years, because that's the lobbying and traveling for lobbying. And I hate to say it, but the lobbying so far has been the best dollars we've ever spent on that bridge. You know, when we look at $360+ million that we've got for a few $100,000 of expenses, I'll take that return on investment any day.
I'm satisfied. I just want to make sure that we're covered for our requirements for our bridge, and as long as we are, good.
Okay.
Would you like a motion?
Does anyone want to give a motion?
I will. I move that we direct staff to prepare appropriate documents for commission approval allowing the TIFIA reserve fund to be used for cash flow purposes and to extend an additional $500,000 line of credit to the Hood River White Salmon Bridge Authority.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you all. Thanks.
Go get us a bridge. And with that, any commission call? Anything else from commissioners?
I just want to say thanks to facilities for all the hard work when it was snowing and a mess when it was 80 floors closed. Every time I see you guys down there, I appreciate what you do. So tell everybody good job and thank you.
Yes.
Very good thing to hear.
And with that, I call us adjourned at 6:35. Executive session, correct?
Done today.
Okay.